because our brains really aren't meant to do new things all the time. It takes a lot of brain energy and a lot of brain power, and how we're naturally in our society kind of wired for an anxious life, and that if we want to help with anxiety, we have to actually create these habits, which is really super fascinating to me. Our beliefs, they can actually like fuel us, or they can shoot us down like really fast. And really though, in order to get to where we want to go, we have to be able to dream it and really envision it, and it really helps. When someone says, reach for the star, build your own dream, what sort of reaction do you get in your body? Do you have like a wah, 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 or yeah, sure? Or is it like, yeah, I can do that? So that's what we're talking about today. We're talking about building our dreams. How does that happen, and what's the process? So a lot of building our dreams, I would break it down to three things: building, propelling, and creating. So these three things. And so we're going to talk about it. The first thing I'd like to say is that building and it is really about building habits, because our brains really aren't meant to do new things all the time. It takes a lot of brain energy and a lot of brain power. So when we can build habits that get us to where we want to go, then those are kind of the bricks or the steps of the stairs that help us climb to where we want to go. And the habits are really interesting because they actually can do just the opposite and spiral us down. I think there's a lot to be said about habit stacking, because habits can be it can take a while to build a habit, but once we build a habit, we can stack another habit on top of it at the same time, and it's much easier to create a new habit if we have it stack, which is an interesting thing. So I'm going to talk about an example of habits that were really spiraling me down when it came to when I was 28 years old and had a mental breakdown or mental eruption. Anyways, that's where I ended up in the psych ward the first time. And some of my habits at that time is that I wasn't willing to deal with how I really felt about things, because I was in a destructive marriage and my thoughts were like, grind it out. God hates divorce. So I had these beliefs that weren't serving me. I had very porous boundaries, and I wasn't really, watching out for me at all. It was about everybody else, because I thought serving others was the purpose of life. Did not serve me well in the end, because I ended up in the psych ward. But those were habits that were causing me to go down and down and down until basically it was so stressful I wasn't sleeping, and that caused my challenge. So it was interesting when I got out of that situation, as far as like just started building, because I would call that like ground zero. When I started building habits from that point, they were very basic. Like for me, I was so exhausted from the whole ordeal, trying to get out of the destructive situation, ended up choosing to go back because I would have lost my daughter and I didn't want to do that. And just kind of so energy low and exhausted. Anytime you have a mental challenge like that, it is physically so exhausting. And then on a medication at that time, which was really took me down, as far as like I wanted to do it, wanted to stay on it at the time, and it just really depleted my energy. So it was very interesting. So I would say that was ground zero. And really the habits that started at that point is like, gosh, I have to start habits of being basic healthiness. And for me, that was like, okay, a little bit of exercise, sun, nutrition, just the basics. And so it was just literally, it sounds wild to think about, but it was literally just walking maybe 2 minutes, because that was hard. I was so exhausted and depleting. Just walking 2 minutes a day was a lot. So just starting to walk, get a little sunshine, really think about like having healthy food and just kind of starting those little healthy habits. But that was definitely ground zero. So that's what habit stacking looked at that point. Nowadays, habit stacking has looked like a little different as far as the bricks that I'm using. I absolutely do exercise and all of that and eat healthy food, but those are already ingrained habits in me. But now I really think like the habits I've really appreciated are in the morning. I do the practice of gratitudes, do 3 gratitudes. I like to write them down if I can. I don't always, but just that practice. I also start with like one of my favorite songs in the morning, and it changes, but it's one that's always like, good morning, or, just a very positive, it's going to be a good day. That's the one I'm doing now. It's going to be a good day. Things like that. So it can give me in a positive mental attitude, because I have to be honest, I'm a pretty positive person with this training and stuff and this habits, but I think we're all naturally inclined not to be. And so really that habit stacking for my brain has been really helpful. Another habit is gold stars, and that's what I like to do in the evenings. Is like, what are some things that I'm really thankful for, grateful for, as far as like, hey, I got this done, or, when I wanted to not tell the truth or express how I really felt, I chose to do it in a good way. Things that I'm working on, but just gold stars for me personally. Sometimes I'll share them with Michael as we like, what are gold stars today, just so that we can end on that note. And sometimes I just do it to myself, just to encourage myself. I just think encouraging ourselves is a really good habit. Also, just my journaling time or my journey time. And that habit is like, what are the strong feelings that I'm having? And then, barf it out, like just write down all my thoughts about it, good, bad, ugly, totally no censorship at all. And then at that point, after I've done that, just start dealing with the emotions and understanding myself. Like, why did that bother me? Why is that important to me? And kind of deciding from there. So, just the barf notebook process is barf it out, sort it out, plan it out. And then that actually helps me verbalize things better too, because it's like, okay, I need to actually communicate this, but I wanted to decide how to communicate it. And so, because otherwise I could be communicating it like, well, you da 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 da. Not very productive in a relationship. But it is important for me to process my emotions and feel my feelings and then think about how I want to react or act, not react, in a positive way that's going to actually help advocate for myself. So those are kind of the habits I have now, like just music, that song in the morning, gratitude, gold star, and just my journey time. Because I feel like life is a journey, and so I just continue to keep that time in my little, I call it my Zen den, but I've got my little bean bag, and I've got my essential oils and all my foofy stuff, and it's just my time to like set aside and work on myself, because there's always a lot of work to do on myself. One book that I really liked recently is Building a Non-Anxious Life by Dr. John Deloney. And he really talks about habits and how we're naturally in our society kind of wired for an anxious life. And that if we want to help with anxiety, we have to actually create these habits, which is really super fascinating to me. And so he talks about that, talks about habits that can really help. And he does it in such a way that it's just a fabulous book. I highly recommend it.
Are you a chronic people pleaser? Do you overgive, overfunction, pretty kind, and you're just tired, or maybe even a little bit resentful? Or are you wondering, like, wow, is this all to life? Is this how it works? Because I kind of feel like I'm going through the motions. Well, that's what the Unravel Notebook is for. It's 61 days to unravel our thinking, beliefs, and live a life intentionally as we connect closer with God, ourselves, and others, so we can be more confident and live brighter in this world.
So I would say that habits are the bricks of getting to our dreams. And now we're going to talk about the fuel, or what propels us, and that's belief stacking. So that's our beliefs. So there's habit stacking, now there's belief stacking, and that's our fuel. And that's really like going through our beliefs. They can actually like fuel us, or they can shoot us down like really fast. And so working on our belief systems and really asking ourselves, what is that belief, and do I actually believe that? Because we have so many beliefs that we've like adopted from our family system, our culture, or our younger version of ourselves. And so beliefs, going through the beliefs and belief stacking is super important. I think one of the most important beliefs that I chose a while ago is I chose to accept my past, and I started encouraging myself. So that was a big deal, because just accepting myself and loving myself was definitely not in the realm of my beliefs at the time. So that was a totally new belief. I really so I have one of my certifications with the life coach school, and I really like Brooke Castillo. She's the one who started the life coach school, and her story as far as like belief stacking and all of that is very interesting, because she went from basically overweight, over drinking, beliefs that I'm not lovable, I'm not enough, and slowly belief stacked herself up to be very successful and very wealthy. And so it's just great to see examples of that because it's an example to all of us because we can all do that. So I think that's a great example. But I do think some beliefs that are super stifling that can be worked on in our lives is I'm not lovable or I don't deserve good things. So I really think that beliefs like I am lovable, I deserve good things, life works out for me, and removing the limiting beliefs that are hindering ourselves is super important. That's one of the reasons why I like doing hypnotherapy and life coaching is because a lot of us don't really know the beliefs or where they came from. And so hypnotherapy kind of goes back to our younger version in 3 different scenes to figure out, well, where did it come from? And at that time, it was actually serving us and helpful because, if we had adopted another belief, that was more harm to ourselves at that time. But how that belief is no longer necessary or important, or it's just doesn't serve us. And so it's just switching those beliefs. And that's why I really think life coaching along with hypnotherapy together can really get people to where they want to go. And that's why I love doing it, because I just see a huge difference. So that is the propellant, is our beliefs, our belief stacking. And again, we can stack one good belief and then start working on another one and another one. The third thing, so we've got our habit stacking, our belief stacking. Our third thing, and this is the vision or the direction, being able to create, is dream stacking or dreaming. And I just think about, like, how little kids, when they're probably below 5, they're always dreaming and they're there and they're astronauts or they're the princess. And it's so easy to dream and envision really good things. And we kind of lose that ability, I think, going through the motions and life gets challenging and we kind of lose that. And so really though, in order to get to where we want to go, we have to be able to dream it and really envision it, and it really helps. So spending time, this is what I do sometimes, is spending time with future me and being like, this is what I envision and this is where I feel like I want to go. There's a verse in the Bible that talks about without vision, the people perish. And I really believe that our vision, is what we create in our mind. And I can use my mind to think of lots of negative things, lots of anxious things. I think my mind and all minds naturally do that because we've got the lifeguard in us that wants to keep us small and safe all the time. So it naturally makes us more negative. And so really to dream stack or to dream, I have to really be intentional and do it. And sometimes it can be very difficult and just start dreaming it and envisioning it. And I really feel like that is amazingly powerful. So one dream that I've had recently, I could tell you a dream that I've had that, I'm actually accomplishing, and one that's like fizzling at the moment. But I live in a colder, it's beautiful, like right now it's beautiful, the most amazing hiking. So it's Bozeman, Montana. There's trails, there's water, there's camping, gorgeous. And we have very long winters. And I'm noticing that that's making a difference for me, as far as I do light therapy, but I've been dreaming of a summer home, like somewhere in Florida or somewhere warm where I can enjoy the winter, because part of the winter, because most of my job is real estate and the other part of my job is life coaching and podcasting. So on the slow seasons around here with real estate can be the winter times. I'm like, oh, I'd love to be somewhere warm and get that sunshine. So I've been dreaming about a warm place with Michael and having these dreams for a while. So I'm happy to say we are getting a nice warm place. It's totally different than where I thought it was going to be. So we're actually getting a home in Colombia. And so we'll be closing on that in a month. And we're actually going in on it with Michael's brother. And it actually happens to be across the street from his other brother. And so, my Spanish isn't great. No hablo español. So I'm going to be having to learn Spanish. And I'm really excited about it. It's a beautiful place. It's a beautiful area. It's an opportunity for the kids love it there. But it's an opportunity for other people that I know to kind of VRBO down there inexpensively, because the whole, basically everything's about a quarter of the cost that it is here. So it also gives me opportunities for friends and family to, when we're not using it, to go down and use it. So really excited about that. But I have to laugh because we don't have our primary home. So we've been living in a rental property that my parents and I own, and we've been planning for our dream, our home. And, we got married on this property and we were going to build on it. And then when we got how much it was going to cost, it was like, no way, that is not what we want to do. So, so we're getting a second home, but we don't have a first home, and we're still working through that. So I just have to laugh at how things are. And I still envision our first home, and it's not quite happening. So we'll see what happens with that. But our vision and believing greater things for us and really figuring out what we desire and allowing ourselves to have desires and dreams. I actually, a lot of people say, oh, when you dream and envision, you should share those dreams because when you speak it, it makes it real. And I'm actually don't do that because I've had so many people be like, why would you do that? What are you thinking? Why do you feel like you, whatever? And so I really think like, if you can speak it, great. But for me, like it's really about going inside. So going inside yourself and asking yourself, what do you really want? Because I really believe God puts those in our hearts and there's no judgment to any of that. So just like, what is it do you really want? Sometimes you can say, what are you jealous of in others? Because that might be something that you want and you just need to like realize you don't need to be jealous. You can actually start creating it for yourself. So really just figuring out what we want. So that's what we talked about today. So building is habit stacking. Our fuel or our propellant is belief stacking. And the vision and direction is dream stacking. So right now, I want you to just think of one thing, one new habit, 2 minutes or less, that you can just start and literally make it a small habit. And then just do it for 2 months, 3 months till it's just really ingrained in you. So just take a moment and think about what that can be. And then I just want to end with just a little breath exercise just to relax us. And I want you to just take a deep breath, but I want you to breathe in so that your belly goes out. So a deep breath in where the belly goes out, and then hold it for 5 seconds. And then I want you to breathe out slowly. And then just take a deep belly breath in. Hold it. And breathe out slowly for 10 seconds. There you go. Just creating habits of taking breaths and pausing can be a great habit too. So I believe in you. I believe in the dreams that you have in you. And I support you. Make it a great day.